So the next topic that we need to discuss if we want to permanently help people to overcome obesity is with regards to the psychological and emotional states that we find ourselves in from moment to moment and day to day. And when I talk about states, what I'm referring to is, on the one hand, we've got destructive states like boredom, worry, frustration, low self-esteem, anxiety, depression, self-pity, and those kinds of things. And on the other hand, we've got enabling states like confidence and energy and excitement and enthusiasm and calmness and relaxation and tenacity and resilience and all those kinds of things. And most of us don't do anything to consciously choose how we feel. We just abdicate all responsibility for that to the outside world. And you'll hear people saying things like, "Oh, you're making me feel stressed right now," or "Oh, my job makes me so anxious." And the moment that you say those kinds of things, you're giving away all of your power, because you can't have what you want until that person says you can, or until the world or luck or fortune conspires in your favor for once. So what we then find ourselves doing is relying on external sources as a way of changing how we feel. So we'll use things like cigarettes, drugs, alcohol, food as a way of changing our state and changing our feelings. And in most instances, this is more about escaping what we don't want, as opposed to moving towards what we do want. Most people have no idea what they do want. All they're aware of is, I don't feel good right now. I've got this upsetting feeling and I just need to escape it and get away from it. So we're using food and alcohol as an anesthetic. And we could be talking about some of those big, powerful, upsetting feelings like anger or depression, those kinds of things. But we could also be referring to some of those more innocuous feelings like boredom, for example, or perhaps more socially accepted feelings like stress. Oh, everybody's stressed. But every time we find ourselves in those feelings, we're just reaching to the outside world. We're reaching for food, we're reaching for alcohol as a way of trying to manage our emotions. And we don't realize that we can do that from the inside. So learning to manage your state is a huge topic. There's lots of things to teach in this area, but there's two things that I can give you right away that are going to make an immediate impact for you. And the first is to recognize you do have a choice. And like I say, most people don't want to recognize that choice, and because it's so much easier to say, "Oh, stop doing that, you're making me stressed." And so by that person changing how they feel, then now I don't need to grow, I don't need to change. Now I've manipulated the outside world, and so now I give myself permission to feel better. But you always have a choice. So let's use a very simplistic example. Let's say that we've got one person who believes, I can never get energized and mobilized first thing in the morning. And every time their alarm goes off, they're always hitting snooze and so on. But what about that day when they've got an important flight to catch and all of a sudden their alarm goes off and they're wide awake and alert and they're getting on with their day? What's the difference? Well, now all of a sudden they've got a compelling reason to do so. They have a compelling reason why. And so that's one of the important things to focus on, is what are the long-term consequences of continuing to allow yourself to indulge in that old emotion that was very seductive, because it can be seductive at times, right? But what are the consequences of allowing yourself to do that? What's it going to cost you? What's it going to cost you in every area of your life? When you focus on those things, then it starts to become a lot easier to go, right, I refuse to indulge in that anymore. I'm going to move in a different direction. Which then leads me on to the second thing that you need to do, which is know what your outcome is. Most people know what they don't want. They know that they don't want to feel stressed. They don't want to feel anxious. They don't want to feel overwhelmed. But they have no idea what they do want. They haven't set themselves a clear target. So they're going around thinking, I don't want to feel stressed. Why must I stress? I need to reduce my stress. I need to learn stress management. Well, guess what? That's like walking around thinking, don't think of a black cat. Your brain doesn't know how to do that. It's just constantly focused on stress. So you have to give yourself a very clear direction as to, okay, what do I want to do and how do I want to feel that's going to move me in a positive and in a useful direction. So once you start implementing those two things right away, deciding to feel differently and deciding what your outcome is, both in terms of what you want to do and how you want to feel right now in this moment. Those two things right away, even before I teach you anything else with regards to state management, are going to have an immediate impact. And so these things seem so unrelated to obesity, right? So, surely obesity is all about nutrition and exercise and getting people moving more. Well, yeah, but those are behaviors, and your behavior is dependent on your state. Your state leads your behavior. When you're in a good mood, you make very different decisions compared to when you're in a bad mood, even when faced with exactly the same kind of situation. So that's why it's so important that if we want to help people to overcome obesity and long-term struggles with weight, that they learn to manage their state.